54 million years ago, a concept called timeline genocide was introduced to our environment here, and our ancestors were erased, our physical experience was erased, and we had shared our DNA knowledge and wisdom with other species. And when we got erased through timeline genocide, it set off this firestorm of other beings who also lost their experience through 1 degree of separation. And this is what started this time war concept, as well as the spiritual invasion concept, where Earth went from 2 trillion living beings to 500 trillion beings in a few short centuries from the mass migrations here, because the experience here was so vitally different than everywhere else. And we were in a new free-willed universe, timeline genocides, uncreational events, until finally the universe was created again. Not recreated, a creational event helped the uncreational event, where everyone was losing their experience. And this is where we started paradoxical existence, where the 66 prime planets that were creating timeline genocide and propagating amongst other galaxies, and it even reached into other universes, everything was sent to a single galaxy, so massive karmic resolution can become underway. Well, there comes a point when you put 500 trillion beings into a single system, they don't always follow the plan, and they create things called paradoxes, where we must finish this process, and we start it, and when we get into a paradox, we start over from the very beginning. And we don't always make the same choices when we do it the second time. And then we made it another uncreational event, and we started over again, and we started a third time. But the previous 2 times we were doing it were also simultaneously running. And there were beings who were aware of this, and they began operating on the 2 different paradoxes and trying to transfer concepts from one to the other so that choice points would be changed. And then we did it a third time. Okay, and then there's beings on all 3 paradox timelines going, we can do something. And they created timeline wars amongst all 3, and we went to tens of millions of different timelines. This would be between 18 million years ago and 12 million years ago during the Lemurian Atlantean expression. And then we had our 4th paradox. So we are now 4 simultaneously running events. We're the 5th. This is where it all comes to an end, where everything we've learned on the 5 paradoxes simultaneously existing now, that we have done all experiences in Earth. We have been the good, we have been the bad, we have been the light, we've been the dark, we've been the ugly, we've been the beauty, we've been the princess, we've been the princess, and we've been the evil witch. We've been everything. And the vast majority of beings in this world are so damaged from doing everything so many times, because there are other beings that are higher frequency, higher vibration, who still have ego, who still believe that they are the masters of our species, because they came in here with these concepts of external gods, and we began praying to them. And we are conscious manifesting beings, and when we manifest something, we pray to a being that's another off-world species, it gets ego, and their ego gets blown up psychically, and they develop skills and become bonded to Earth on what's a thing called the divinity path. And the divinity path has good sides and bad sides, because they're promoting this concept of light and dark, when in fact we are multifunctional, multidimensional beings of light, and we do not need to have just 2 experiences of light and dark. There are 3rd options and 4th options and 5th options that the rest of the universe uses. But for here, the basic concept of light battling dark and dark battling light was enforced as a macro choice concept to exist here in the 66 planets of the prime dramas. So if you're here to resolve karma, you are here as part of the macro understanding of light and dark. And to graduate here, to finish this process here, we realize that light does not need to battle dark, nor does dark need to battle light. Each is an individual expression with their individual truths that must be honored and respected from both sides. There's also the understanding that there's the neutral perspective, which is the planet holds the neutral space for all sentients to come in and have their experience. And that planet is held space by a solar system. That solar system is held space by a galaxy, and that galaxy is held space by a universe. And that shows the different degrees of different entities that are well vested into our free will, because we are the micro beings who have turned out how to change macro beings' experiences, quite literally. And we are on the cusp of a new understanding of our DNA legacy, of what went on in Atlantis and Lemuria, what went on in the timeline genocide wars, what went on in your personal heart's history, why you've been in the reincarnation and out of reincarnation, why life has been hard and bad, why there's a political organization at the top that calls itself a church, and yet all the people that are within this church are bound by rules and dogmas that don't even express the true nature of love. And that applies to every religion out there because every single major religion got it wrong. Every single one. The closest one out there is the Buddhists, and they were still
Mm.
quite wrong. Every single one of those religious concepts were hijacked and brought to us to this external concept instead of an internal. And when you work with people, Andra, you know it's all inside. And when you
Well,
run into those external personalities, you know that that's a healing lifetime that they had to go external because something happened.